Hey, it's Woodcocker. A couple of weeks ago, FacePunch announced that they've already paid out over $250,000 through the HackerOne program. Players report bugs and exploits to the developers, they fix them, and the players who found them get a cash reward. I spent a whole month surfing the internet, watching Rust videos, and spent several weeks on various test servers. In the end, I managed to find a little over 1,000 bugs in Rust. I personally tested every single one of them. And in this video, I'm going to show you all the ones that are still working on live servers. I did all of this completely for free. I'm not expecting any reward from FacePunch. I just want the bugs shown in this video to be patched. There's no sponsorship or ads in this video either, but if you want to support my work, I do have a Patreon page with lots of useful stuff for fellow Rust players. I won't keep you waiting. Let's get into the bugs. If you drop a backpack near the tugboat door and open it, then sail away to another location. When you remove the door, the backpack, along with all the loot, will teleport back to where it was originally dropped. This allows you to teleport any amount of loot across any distance. If you get wrapping paper from a present, you can store an unlimited amount of liquid inside it. However, if you wrap the present afterward, the water will simply disappear. After destroying a tool cupboard, the entire base's decay timer freezes for 24 hours. But if you reskin any building block, the decay timer will reset immediately and decay will start right away. On the first level of the missile silo, one of the machines has misaligned collision, allowing you to throw items or even hide backpacks inside unreachable spaces. The furniture filter for conveyors still doesn't have a proper name and is labeled with a hashtag. Using a horse, you can loot the camper module. You can search for hidden boxes inside raided bases. Just craft an adapter and click along the walls until you get a red warning message at the bottom of the screen. That indicates a loot point is behind the wall. If you drive a motorcycle down into a mining elevator shaft and park it at an angle, then call the elevator down, the bike will clip into the pillar structure on the bottom floor. If you sit on the back seat of a horse, you can shoot enemies from behind cover. If you place any chair on the stern of the tugboat and surround it with furnaces and beds, trying to stand up from the chair will instantly kill your character. Normally, you can place only 4 beehives per foundation. However, if you place the hives close to the corners, you can fit about 1.5 times more hives in the same area. If you remove a weapon's scope using hover loot while aiming down sights, the weapon will bug out and disappear completely, although the scoped view effect will remain active. By entering specific console commands on a server with admin access, you can completely remove all UI elements across all servers, including the Juggernaut suit interface. Using a flamethrower, you can destroy ore nodes, and you'll hear the sound effect as if you're hitting weak spots, even though ores aren't supposed to be destructible this way. If you stand on the round metal hatch located at the entrance to the large cave, all the water across the map will visually disappear. The Swap Hands console command permanently removes the fire effect from crossbow arrows. Jumping on a broken car allows you to push it and accelerate it to absurd speeds. If you send cooked meat to the cooking table as an ingredient for pie using shift-click, its freshness timer will reset back to a full day. The game incorrectly calculates whether a beehive is placed indoors, especially when the base has raised foundations or when the hives are placed close to exterior walls. If you jump onto the wall of any base, animals chasing you will get scared and run away. If you place crates with adapters on a ramp and squeeze against them without holding the control key, you'll get pushed sideways and can even be shoved through ceilings. If you stand on a battering ram and have a teammate drive a train into it, your character will be pushed into the geometry without taking damage, as long as the train's speed is kept low. If you park a sled on the train tracks and run it over with a train, your character will glitch inside the train, and the only way out will be to kill yourself. If you press against the green shack at the launch site and step off the ledge, your character won't fall. Instead, you'll walk along an invisible wall without making any noise. If you place a stocking on the edge of an external wall and then cover it with another wall, you'll still be able to access the stocking through the structure. Posters from DLCs can be stacked on top of each other, creating full paper staircases. If you repaint a rock into a skull skin, its radius becomes smaller. If you place a retro-skinned tool cupboard behind glass, only the numbers will remain visible on the screen. However, if you look through the glass with a scope, the full image will reappear. If you place a mine on the edge of a ladder and change its skin to brick, you get invisible working mines. Industrial lights can be placed inside walls, allowing electricity to be run into fully sealed rooms and kill bunkers. When opening a door, its splash hitbox doesn't move, so shooting at the edge of an open door with explosive ammo deals reduced damage. Explosive ammo does not deal damage to an open hatch if you shoot at its bottom part. While lying on a sunbed, you can shoot enemies without proper line of sight. If you place a ladder and then rotate the wall, the ladder will end up on a different side of the wall, allowing players to climb through the air. The burning effect from a fire rocket can be extinguished with just 200 milliliters of water from a bottle. The binoculars cannot spot enemies behind bushes, but work perfectly underwater, even up to 150 meters. This allows you to check for players under the oil rig. An ancient bug. If you hug a wall while falling at a monument, you will not take fall damage. Works on dome, water treatment, launch site, airfield, and many other locations. Another way to avoid fall damage, touch a cactus or high external walls during a fall. You will still take some damage, not from the fall itself. You can stack boxes on top of each other if they are placed inside doors or fences. The supply signal placed on garage doors disappears. If you close it, the smoke effect becomes bugged. When placing items into window frames, players can manually adjust the placement height. This allows crates to float mid-air, creating unfair shooting gaps. If you place a landmine on a half wall and cover it with ceilings, the mine will be hidden inside the structure and will trigger on players above. Using a sloped roof, you can place a shotgun trap so that its barrel clips through a wall while remaining fully functional. There is a gap at the sides of double-sheet metal doors, allowing players to see inside. If you set object quality to 0, the gap becomes large enough to see loot boxes without even aiming. The armored door does not have this issue. Single doors also have gaps under them. The size of the gap depends on the material and skin of the door frame, the door type, its skin, and the object quality settings. The biggest gap appears under garage doors if there is no wall beneath them. The gap is so large that you can shoot through it and even interact with objects inside. The sealed room on the large oil rig can be seen through from below. Inside, the floor looks solid, but from underneath, you can see everything through the grating. Besides one-way visibility, fire also passes through the floor. Simply throw a Molotov under the room and the players inside will die from the flames. At the supermarket monument, if you set object quality to minimum, you can see through the ceiling from inside, while from outside, everything looks normal. Reducing object quality to minimum causes a hole to appear in the stairs on the cargo ship. If you light a bean can grenade and switch to a torch, the burning fuse effect will stay floating in the air. Switching to any other item doesn't cause this. Tripwire alarms still trigger through closed doors. Using a bicycle or minicopter, you can loot another player's vending machine even if it's sealed behind a wall. If you attach a cassette recorder to an item, it cannot be picked up with a hammer. Placing a cassette recorder on the backside of a workbench can protect it from thieves. Destroying reinforced glass does not create a building block zone, allowing you to immediately replace the glass. Vehicles leaning against certain structures, especially barricades, can behave unpredictably. players may be teleported or even instantly killed when trying to walk nearby. After activating night vision goggles, removing or equipping any other item cancels the device's background noise. Playing an emote causes the same effect. The minicopter does not take damage when crashing into a chain link fence. If you press reload after firing a bolt-action weapon, it will reload instantly. Fire damage to wooden double doors and wooden gates is incorrectly calculated. They take double the intended amount of fire damage. When attaching mods to a weapon inside a box, the click sound that should alert nearby players doesn't play. At the launch site near the recycler, you can place barricades directly onto the asphalt surface. If you place a second planter box under a sprinkler, the amount of water is not divided. It is duplicated. If you plant crops inside a half-height block, you can harvest them through the ceiling above. Unpowered water pump sometimes can elevate water. If you pour water at your feet, it will not water the lower planter, but instead the one above. To water a lower planter manually, you must crouch. If you connect several sprinklers located above a disabled water pump, they will still show the water spray animation. However, only the first sprinkler will actually work, and in practice, none of them should be working at all. If you stack 2 bear rugs on a tugboat and stand on them, you'll be able to push the boat. Dropping a rug under your feet will only give you 25% comfort, but if you hang it on the ceiling and climb onto a chest, comfort will almost reach 100%. Turrets completely ignore ramp supports, allowing the creation of invulnerable and invisible turrets. I show how to build such a construction on my Patreon page. The link is in the description. If you place a turret close to a roof, it will deal damage to players through textures. A turret only targets a specific spot on a player's model, which can result in situations where it doesn't see a player standing directly in front of it. The New Year gong is opaque for turrets, making it possible to bait a whole compound. Drop boxes cannot be placed on doors, but they can be placed on rugs placed on doors. If you load a minigun into a turret, it will constantly spin and make an annoying noise, even if the turret isn't connected to electricity. Weapon durability does not decrease when firing from a turret. This allows you to raid with explosive ammo from an AK without losing any durability. This bug is over 4 years old. If you place a bear rug on the ceiling, you can place a pressure plate between it and the ceiling, and it will still work through the ceiling. If you place a shotgun trap on a bear rug and then pick up the rug, the trap will remain floating, gaining a firing advantage from the edge. Placing boxes on a rug in a tugboat and then picking up the rug will completely despawn the chests along with their loot. Explosives will bounce off rugs. A turret can be used to instantly reload a minigun without a workbench. The turret doesn't even need to be powered for this, and the reload happens instantly. If you shuffle ammo around inside a turret loaded with a machine gun, the ammo stacks can increase up to 256 or even 300 rounds, even though the game's maximum stack size is 128. If you place shelves next to a wall and set a splitter on their edge, you can run a pipe through the wall. If you place a conveyor very close to the wall with its output side, you can also run a pipe through the wall. The same applies to combiners. Placing them tightly against a wall lets you run a pipe through. Running a pipe very close to the edge of a foundation or ceiling lets you cover it with a sloped roof. If you place 2 twig roofs side by side and run a pipe through a gap where a piece of the wall is missing, then remove one wall, you'll get a pipe going through the roof. If you set a conveyor on the junction between 2 walls, you can build a ceiling on top and get a pipe running between floors. Running a pipe along the seam between 2 foundations lets you completely cover it, getting a pipe through the foundations. Running a pipe along the corner of a stability bunker gives you a safe pipeline through the roof. Even if the roof is destroyed, the pipe will remain. If you place any industrial object on a sloped roof and attach a ceiling above, then remove the roof, the object will stay inside the wall, allowing you to transfer items through it. Running a pipe alongside a wall allows you to place any number of ceilings on top. If you try to run a pipe through a wall, it will bug out and become transparent. You'll be able to keep placing points endlessly. If you activate a remote camera and exit the interface, textures will load with a delay. On low graphics settings and weak PCs, you can use this to see through rocks or search for items in grass. The supports of the large oil rig don't reach the seabed, so the pipes simply end in the middle of the ocean and are visible from inside. On the small rig, the pipes don't have collision at all. Oil rig scientists can't walk through even open red doors, getting stuck in walls and sticking their hands inside rooms. You can even damage them this way. Stashes cannot be placed inside or on top of foundations, but can be placed inside furnaces, boxes, and other furniture. When reviving a player with a syringe, the animation does not sync with the sound. Item stats do not update after the item breaks. Unlike other deployables, hatches and grills don't leave protective logs after being blown up. They can be replaced immediately. You can access a Dropbox outer slots by approaching it from below or the side. If you open a door located next to a Dropbox, the Dropbox's outer slots will open instead. There are over 50 items in the game that fully restore their hit points when picked up. The funniest example is the sleeping bag, which has a visible health bar that never decreases. You can crawl through tight spaces by using a chair. From a chair, you can teleport onto a ladder from up to 1.5 blocks away. You can also teleport through ramps using a chair. Beds cannot be placed on upgraded ramps, but can be placed on twig ramps. However, they will disappear if any part of the base is changed. Sitting in the sidecar of a motorcycle lets you shoot just barely with the edge of your head. Large furnaces can't be covered with ceilings, but can be covered with roofs. If you place a box on a vending machine, it will disappear after any building change. A stone pickaxe can yield slightly more metal and sulfur from nodes if you avoid hitting the glowing spots. If you throw several Easter eggs into a falling airdrop, it will unlock and become lootable early. Mines and traps will still activate through ceilings if a dance floor is placed underneath them. The handrail on spiral triangle stairs floats in midair. If you throw any item into a burning helicopter, your character will play a burning animation and make a sizzling sound, even from far away. If you turn with Alt and push a vehicle, it will be pushed toward where the character is looking. You can pull vehicles toward yourself or even push a boat into yourself against a wall. Placing a triangle roof next to a square one creates a large gap in the wood texture. Switching the fishing rod slot before casting will cause the bait to simply disappear. If an item is crushed by an elevator, its model will stick to the elevator and phase through it. Similar things happen with corpses. They teleport onto the elevator platform. If a player dies at the edge of a roof, they won't fall. They'll stick to the ceiling and float midair. By combining the previous two bugs, you can attach a floating corpse to an elevator. Adding another elevator cell will make all attached corpses disappear. If you build a twig structure so that the ceiling lines up with the top of a gate, you can place a tool cupboard on the gate. After removing the ceiling, the TC will stay on the gate, holding the base authorization. You can even build underwater this way, and the TC will stay. You can also bug it to show zero upkeep or place multiple TCs side by side. The sides of sloped roofs block construction next to them, even though the game allows placing roofs next to building blocks. Opening a dialogue with any NPC while jumping disables physics for the player, allowing you to float indefinitely. Snowmobiles and motorcycles deal massive damage to other vehicles. The motorcycle takes little damage, while the snowmobile takes almost none. You can trade 1,000 transport heli hit points for only 20 points of snowmobile. If you put a gun with an extended magazine into an overfilled locker and try to remove the magazine, the bullets will get stuck inside the locker's texture instead of going to your inventory. Fishing village nets work incorrectly. Players get stuck in them and can be launched into the sky. If you place a sofa under a garage door, you can slice the player model in half, clipping them into the door. A repair bench can be placed inside any door frame, allowing you to transfer items out of a deep sealed base. However, research tables no longer work for this trick. Using sloped roofs and steps, you can place a Tesla coil inside any wall. When powered, it will deal damage on both sides of the wall. Placing a Tesla coil on a repair bench next to a wall also allows it to deal damage through the wall. Windmill power output is calculated incorrectly. It uses the terrain height rather than the actual ground level, so windmills placed side by side can generate vastly different amounts of energy. On icebergs, even a foundation level windmill can generate nearly 100 energy. Mines can be placed inside small rocks, making them completely invisible without losing functionality. Placing a mine close to a sloped roof will allow it to trigger through the roof. Normally, you can't place a shotgun trap on a repair bench, but at certain angles, it not only places on the repair bench, but can even be installed through walls. Destroying a triangle spiral staircase will also destroy the object placed above it. If you wedge a rocking chair tightly between two sloped roofs and hold W, you can phase through the roof textures and even shoot through them. A satchel charge stuck to glass will kill all players inside the tugboat's cabin. If you drive a bicycle onto the tugboat and place it at the front, while the boat is moving, a player can clip inside the loot room. If a character stands on a furnace, grenades will damage them through the ceiling. A rocket cannot destroy wooden stakes. If a character is holding a green or red access card, it will still display as blue to other players. You cannot craft items using broken components. However, if you place a broken and repaired component next to each other on the hotbar, you can craft using it through Quick Craft. On the large oil rig, if you stand in a certain spot and open your inventory, the crane to your left will completely disappear. If you stand in front of one of the entrances at the airfield and open your inventory, the fence will stop rendering. If you look through a window on the cargo ship with high graphics settings, textures inside will start flickering like a disco. Metal embrasures take heavy damage from fire, even though they are made of metal and shouldn't burn. The in-game camera can see through any smoke, allowing you to navigate even when the screen is fully gray. If you open the console while sleeping, you can move hotbar items with the mouse. In sloped roofs, the bottom plank disappears if you attach two more cross roofs underneath. If you connect a seismic sensor to 1 unit of electricity, it will output 3 units upon explosion, magically generating 2 extra units from nowhere. Some rocks are completely ignored by vehicles, allowing you to drive through them. If a character is seated at a computer station and a door is closed behind them, they cannot leave the interface. The only way out is to kill themselves. Flashlights in the underwater labs sometimes bug out and flicker in different places. Lighting near certain doors in underwater labs is incorrectly rendered. If you place a computer station, like shown in the video, attempting to exit it will kill the player. Water splitters can be installed inside walls and ceilings, preventing players from building close to your base. Barricades can be placed from inside the camper module of a vehicle. The military base can be fully blocked off with barricades, even covering loot crates. Barricades cannot be built on other monuments. The collision on the junkyard differs significantly from the visual model, allowing players to hide items inside piles of trash. In attempts to fix smoke clipping with torches, developers made fire look very unnatural when interacting with smoke. If you play a gesture right before falling, your character will remain standing after being knocked. If you press against the second floor in the underwater lab, you can light torches, shoot, and heal underwater. If you press your head against any ceiling in the underwater lab, you will stop consuming oxygen. Bicycles deal massive damage to drones and send them flying with even a light touch. If you crouch under the MLRS launcher while it's spinning, you can clip inside the model. By looking down and crouching, you can fully hide from enemies. Certain crossbeams on power lines lack collision, causing players to fall from great heights. If you fill all slots in a fish trap except for one, only the desired type of fish will be caught. If you approach a wall, lower your head, and throw a mace, it will pass through the wall. If you hold a Thompson with the flashlight attachment already turned on, the light source appears slightly to the side of the gun instead of from the flashlight itself, and the light edge is very blurred. If you ignite a barbecue grill while standing next to a wall, your character will get stuck and cannot escape without extinguishing the fire. If you flip a battering ram over, it will slide across the ground like on ice, and trying to mount it will spin the player in random directions. Horses at the ranch are not protected by turrets, allowing players to kill them freely, farm fat and cloth with a rock, and then move on after a minute. If you hold a bee jar, the bees will also appear under the player's model. If you connect a 1-watt consumer to a battery, it will use much less energy than 2 1-watt consumers. Waving a torch underwater will not extinguish it. Players do not take fall damage while riding a bicycle. When repairing a minicopter, the health and required materials menu does not appear. Placing items on roofs behaves strangely. Trying to place from underneath will highlight all roofs facing directions other than east, but still not allow placing. Placing from above allows it, but east-facing roofs will show errors. Rocket splash damage is calculated incorrectly. No damage goes to foundations when shooting walls, but walls do take damage if shooting foundations. If you place a sleeping bag between a box and a wall, upon respawning, the character will be stuck. The in-game camera position and character's eye position do not match. While standing, the eyes are slightly above and to the right of the camera. When crouching, the desync becomes much worse. The head bobs up and down, but the camera stays level. Because of this, enemies might see your eyes, but you won't see them. Some deployable objects cannot be placed even though there is seemingly nothing blocking them, while building blocks can be placed through walls. If you connect 2 square roofs side by side, then attach another roof to the left, their connection will disappear. If you mirror the structure, everything works fine. The bug happens with all materials. Bushes near oases do not disappear when placing foundations over them. Loot crates in trains can be looted from outside through the walls. Fire passes through trains. Dead bodies clip through trains. If you jump onto a button inside a closed room on the launch site and open the door, you can clip into the ceiling. If you carefully slide off a railing at the launch site parkour section, you will land on an invisible wall. If you park a minicopter on the excavator arm, it will fall and explode when the excavator starts moving. If you pick up a resource right after using it, the notification will stay red. If you hold a water bottle and throw any item, a bubbling water sound will be heard from the side. If you open the building upgrade menu and drag inventory slots with the mouse, the player can upgrade or remove walls with any item in their hand. After testing, it turned out that out of the 1,000 bugs, about 200 are still working. Is that a lot or not? I'll let you be the judge. Make sure to report any bugs you see in this video using the F7 menu. Don't forget to subscribe for more useful Rust content, and thanks a lot for watching. And a special thanks to these awesome people for supporting me on Patreon. The number of you keeps growing, and it honestly makes me really happy. See you around.